You ready to get loose? Footloose?
Let's do it. I can't sing, otherwise I would.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, I can dance really well, though.
Oh, can you?
No.
I was going to say it's not allowed.
It's not allowed.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
It's an oldie, but a goodie.
So you had never seen this,
right?
You had said. Some of these actors and things that played the characters in here, were you like, whoa, I can't believe this? Or was that like John Lithgow? You know, being the pastor, the minister, or whatever.
He looked so young.
Yeah, I mean, what did you think of some of those? I've been really curious about that because obviously a lot of these actors have just kept with their careers.
Right.
Movies. The average person can be inspired by them. They can make us laugh. Movies can keep us on the edge of our seat and so much more. Maddie's Movie Mix is a podcast for movie enthusiasts of all kinds. We hope you enjoy the show.
Wait. Matt Logan!
Yes, we both have the same problem. You.
Listen. You smell something?
Yippee-ki-yay. This is Tyler Peterson. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought it was just weird seeing him so young and not white-haired or balding or anything like that. So, I mean, I really remember him as Barney's dad and How I Met Your Mother.
Sure.
And then he showed up in, I think, in a Pitch Perfect. I can't remember which one, but I could be wrong. Probably would have been two.
Third Rock
two
from the
wasn't
Sun,
great.
of course.
Right.
Was big.
Yeah.
And then a few others, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, for the most part, I mean, Kevin Bacon looks essentially the same.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a few wrinkles, but other than that, I mean, I think for the most part, like, I remember as a kid, I was not good with actor names. I was like, something I was always impressed with my dad being able to do, like, oh, actor here, actor there. I was like, why do you need to memorize all this stuff? And now here I am of like, oh, this is the actor. This is who he's in. This is where he typically does. This is what he has coming up. And it's funny because my Megan is terrible with names when it comes to book names, actor names. She knows the character, but she doesn't know the actor.
Sure.
And so then I'm like, when I say, this is the actor, and she's like, I don't know who you're talking about. And then I'm like, he was in this, he was in that. She's like, oh, yeah, I remember that. And so,
remember Harry Potter? Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe.
I thought Harry Potter was the actor, and Daniel Radcliffe, whatever.
Right.
So, I don't know. It's fun to see. I think it's always fun to see people and different elements. I mean, people are going to age for better for worse. I think even nowadays, it's one of those things where, I mean, makeup and CGI, you can really make anyone look like anything. And so, for the most part, I'm like, oh, they have really good CGI in the 80s. Just kidding.
Right.
So,
right. In the music, obviously, you know, you got to love it.
Yeah, it's good. All of them are pretty well, I would say, classics.
Yeah, and they won. What was Footloose an original song?
I think so. What was Footloose, the song out?
Kenny Loggins.
Kenny G.
And then, oh yeah, Let's Hear It for the Boy I wrote down.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were both, looks like I wrote, they were both up for an Academy Award for Best Original Song.
Yeah.
I hope that's correct, but that's what I had written down.
Yeah, I loved the music. And again, not seeing it, I know it had it's a cult classic. It's obviously well renowned. It just got a remake, got put on Broadway.
It just got a remake, or you mean the one
or
from
2011? Sorry.
Yeah, that's 10 years ago.
Well, just compared to 84, it's still more recent. So
I have not seen that one, by the way.
I haven't seen that. Oh, this is the first time I've seen the old one.
Yeah.
So, I always like watching the original. Oh, except for I rewatched Dune. So, Dune, I had no intention of watching the original until we decided to talk about both of them. And so,
yeah.
But with musicals and stuff,
campy.
Yeah,
campy. That's what we just repeat when we say Dune.
So I thought I really enjoyed it. I thought there was going to be more dancing and singing than what was in it, but it's still a really good film.
what was interesting to me about it as well is how. I mean, I don't exactly know how accurate it is, but it's pretty accurate as far as there's a lot of, ministers and people in like the faith, so to speak, that really thought that way.
Well,
really acted that way.
There was,
I lived it. I mean, I didn't live it like 1-to-1, but I saw it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, there was a town, and what I was reading, so it was roughly based off of a religious town called Almar City. I think it was in Oklahoma, where they actually had forbidden public dancing since its founding, and that was overturned in 1978. So it was like, you watch the film and think it's absolutely ridiculous, the premise of like, we're just going to ban dancing, especially something nowadays where people can dance whatever moves they want, no matter how ridiculous they look. But I mean, in 1978, and this came out in 1984, so I mean, that's pretty recent.
Yeah.
When the film came out. So I thought that was really interesting that it actually, there was a town that this actually was, I don't know how strict it was, but I mean, the law was still there.
Yeah, certainly public dancing, obviously. I remember reading about that, too. I didn't take any notes on it, I guess, but it was in Oklahoma, and stuff.
Yeah.
This is what I read as well. That is, I mean, that's in my lifetime.
Yes.
I mean, I was born before 78.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear.
Wow.
Which is insane in America.
Yeah.
And we talk, to me, it is anyway. And I
Right.
guess, you know what? You're going to found a town. Our Constitution says you can do it that way.
That's right.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's not the point of it. The point of it that I'm trying to make is like,
They should have
there's
written in the Constitution you can have free speech and free dance.
totally, right? And so it was like, I get it from the Constitution standpoint, you can do it, but I don't get it from like a rational, logical way of thinking. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think it was, it's one of those things that I feel like it was all about control of,
Yeah.
well, here's the
Cultural
escalation premise of, well, if they do this, it's going to lead to that, and if they do that, it leads to...
In all fairness, WAP.
The WAP?
WAP. Isn't it WAP?
I think it's the WAP.
WAP.
Yeah.
We're not going to say it. The WAP.
The WAP should be
yeah,
WAP,
so
if that's what you're
I've
trying
always
to
right. I've always said WAP. So whatever. But yeah, so maybe they weren't wrong.
I know my wife wishes public dancing was outlawed because whenever, again, I have music constantly going through the head, which usually equates to moving the hips in public, and she's like, this is not the place for that. There were some interesting things about some fun facts, if you want to hear them, that I found.
I do. I like always. Our research tends to be different, and I like that a lot.
So, do you know that Kevin Bacon tips DJs not to play Footloose if he's ever there?
I didn't. Seriously?
Yeah, because
where did you find that?
I found it on a few places. There were some interviews and stuff where he talks about it, because I think was a little disgruntled because it's expected he'll do the dance then,
right,
and everything else. So it makes sense, but I just thought it was funny. He pays, and then it ends up not working anymore because he's so famous for like, you can keep your money. I just want to see whatever's going on.
That's funny.
Yeah. Kevin Bacon went undercover as a high school student for the role. He got the role. He was supposed to do it for a whole day to get undercover to understand the roles and everything. He only ended up spending 2 to 3 hours because it was just too much for him.
Really?
Yeah. The opening scene for Footloose, when the Footloose song's going on, there's over 150 pairs.
So wait a minute. I wanna learn more about that. That's interesting to me about the high school thing.
Yeah.
I remember reading about it or hearing about it probably over the years, but so he only made it a couple hours. Was he famous at the time?
I think it was more social anxiety.
Really?
Yeah. Well, there was an.
Did he
write
not
this
go to
down.
high school?
I think he went to high school, but he was in his 20s at this point.
Sure.
And so it's going back because he got a huge rash because he had a fear of public speaking as well. I don't know if he still has that.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, where he had a rash
no idea.
during the scene where he was the town hall meeting.
Yeah.
Where he went up and spoke. He got rashes because there was a lot of people there. That's at least what I read. And again, that one was one I didn't write down, so I did a lot of fact checking. It was one I found interesting, but it was, I think he's an introvert at heart.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Continue.
Chris Penn's training to dance scene, where they were training him to dance, was added because he couldn't actually dance. So they added that scene to teach him because
that was a good scene.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That was, yeah.
It was originally called Cheek to Cheek, the movie.
Really?
Which I don't understand where that name came from. But I'm so glad it switched to Footloose because it sounds so much better. And then in the opening credit, there were over 150 pairs of feet shot.
Oh, really? It was that many? Yeah.
Which I thought was fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, the main ones that really fascinated me was that Kevin Bacon tips his DJs and that he couldn't stand being in high school or being undercover for more than 2-3 hours. Yeah,
I wonder. That is very interesting. It'd be fun to learn more about that, actually.
Yeah,
that might be.
Well, it's interesting too because obviously Kevin Bacon's so famous now because he got the scales of what was it? I forget what it's called, like the scale of bacon or the levels of bacon of how many actors can you get to.
Yeah,
until they get to Kevin Bacon.
Right. What is that called? That's exactly. I forgot about that. The 7
levels of bacon.
Was it the 7
rings?
The I don't know. Anyway, we'll have to look at that. You know what we should do? We've been doing some of the one-offs.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do a one-off on actors every now and then.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Just really research the heck out of an actor.
Yeah.
And then just do a podcast in actor.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd
Especially for people. Yeah, Kevin Bacon, he has so many years.
Yeah.
He does a lot of different
That would
things.
probably take a while for us to research.
Guess we got reliable Wikipedia. And maybe a few other sites.
You're kidding, right? You know how they operate Wikipedia?
Yes.
Okay. It's not super accurate.
No,
generally.
it absolutely is not.
There's a lot of stuff that is not fact in
They
there.
do provide some nice links sometimes if you don't actually read it and you just go to the links.
That's great that they're there. I'm not saying that, but they come across. I mean, it says Wikipedia like it's an encyclopedia on the web, obviously, and whatever. There are some facts in it, but there's a lot that are not.
Absolutely. I remember in high school, because I'm only a little bit younger, that I was upset because they would always tell us you can't use Wikipedia as a source.
Yeah.
When we were writing papers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes sense, especially back then, because it really was a lot more loose of like changing people's profiles and stuff like that was a lot easier. I think they've gotten more strict on how they do that, but I remember really when it first started up, it was
it was terrible.
Quite loose.
It like I said, has a place, but it's not
for research papers.
No. What do you think? We're gonna get into the rating. We want to
talk about the budget real quick. How much?
Yeah. I got that. Yes, I forgot.
I was just scrolling through my notes real quick, and I saw the budget. And that was one that it does stand out. I think
did $80 million domestically.
Yeah,
at a budget of $8.2 million.
That's a hit.
That is definitely a hit.
Cultural phenomenon. I was not born in '84.
Right.
And so, but I understand the impact, looking back on it, of how big of an impact it had.
Yeah, it had a huge impact, without a doubt. That kind of like profit allows you to do movies like we talked about recently of West Side Story, when they have $100 million budget and do $27 million. You know, it's movies like this that fund movies like that.
I don't know if yeah, right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
As long as you're not getting to that West Side Story was a bad film.
We have a podcast for that, so we'll let people you know, go ahead and listen, and you know, you can win them over or I can win them over.
That's true. Can we talk about the other part? Is
no,
that,
there's a lot to talk about. That's what I'm saying. Like, there is a ton.
There's a character named Willard.
There is.
Which rang true to my heart because I have a little dog named Willard. Actually, Willow, but I call her Willard all the time.
Yeah, which is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it started because of...
Jackie's over there chewing on... Jackie, are you chewing on your foot again? She likes to chew on her feet, but... Is that... You're a dog person.
Flexible. What?
You're a dog person.
Yes.
You have your wife's a dog trainer. Why do they chew on their feet and lick their feet and stuff?
I have no idea.
All right.
They do weird things. That's all I know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, anyways, I have a dog named Willard. But I call her Willard. Well, it started because of my mother-in-law.
Okay.
And she used to call Willow Little Willard. And so the name just stuck. But
is there a resemblance?
No.
Okay.
No, I just think my mother-in-law, what she loves doing is she's really good at coming up with nicknames. So Willow probably actually has like 7 nicknames from my mom, like Big W, Little Willard. She used to have a peeing problem, so she was called the Grand Wizard. And so she's just really good at nicknames. And so one of them...
Who had the peeing problem? Sorry, I'm just kidding.
Willard had the peeing problem. So...
I just had to because the way you said it was like it could have been taken a little. I knew what you were talking about. But.
So, yeah, I really liked Ren and Willard's relationship.
Yeah,
I thought it's one of those. So we just did West Side Story, where I think we talk about romances that just snap right away.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't make sense to me. Well, friendships, I guess it makes a little bit more sense to me because there was a friend I had in college, and we're still friends, that we hung out the first time and then became best friends all throughout college. And so that was something that was I resonated pretty closely too with Ren and Willard, where they had that snarky comments and then became best friends because they realized they could relate with one another.
Yeah. Why do you think the critics didn't like it? Did you read any of that kind of stuff? How the critics?
Well, I saw
some of them were good, but
yeah,
a lot of them it wasn't real.
Well, that's what I was shocked about because I bought it to review it.
Oh, you bought it?
Yeah, it was only $5.
It.
Well, it's only $5.
All right,
and it's a classic. And I'll watch it again.
No, I get it.
And
I mean, I'm a movie collector for the last 30 years, so.
And I'm trying to get to your grand.
Oh, it took 30 years.
Yeah.
I should get the box of VHS out. I have a box of VHS somewhere, like
with a box of pencils right next to it.
Probably. I think I got rid of a lot of them, but I think I still have a lot of VHS. I don't have a VHS player, but
I remember in college the Disney films on the VHS were the hot topic to watch it back on VHS because that's what we grew up on.
For sure.
Yeah, so I bought it. And so Rotten Tomatoes, which is I think one of the least credible review sites that I've ever gone to, but I always am intrigued to just see how different films do and not really take any input off of that, but just kind of see that scale of where it's at. It was like 55% when I bought it. I was like,
yeah,
I've only heard good things, and it's a classic, or at least from, again, not reviewing it or understanding anything about it until I watched it and bought it and everything. I've only heard the echoes of what happened or what was resulted out of it, and I was like, it's a good film. Kevin Bacon launched his career. Great dance scenes and everything like that. So when I saw 55%, I was like, that makes no sense to me. So I have no idea why the critics, besides if they were trying to be like The Institution, be like, we shouldn't be promoting chaos in our societies.
I think, I think that's the way I took it for sure. And I'm glad to hear you like pick up on that. I think I've said that before though too, like where it almost seems like they follow like these big critics and Rotten Tomatoes especially, they follow like the institution,
right,
or the elites, or the, you know what I mean,
and they don't take the film as it is and the impact that it can have,
right, and which is disheartening to me, which is why I wanted to have this podcast be just two movie people that love to be entertained by movies, and not like professional. I mean, I hope we can always maintain that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, actually, when we get down to the breaking down the score, that's something I thought about in overall entertainment, is just having open and honest conversations about what norms and laws we have in place and why we have them, because that's a huge part of this film.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
The other note that's not at all, have we gotten into, sorry, I was just going right into actor chemistry.
Oh, I don't care.
Ren and Willard. So then going back to the fact that I had about Chris Penn's training to dance, and if I had seen this before college, I thought it would have been absolutely ridiculous to teach another man how to dance. Just because I was like, who does that?
Yeah.
Well, fun fact, I took a ballroom dance class in college, and it was like my junior year. And again, my friend Matt, who was one of my great friends, he was just about to propose, or he was getting ready for the wedding. And so what ended up happening, it was a fall semester class. And so I would go to the class, learn whatever subject we were learning that week, whether it was ballroom or salsa or anything like ballroom dancing. I don't know the actual things, so I didn't pay attention that well. But he lived in the church basement, helped do some janitorial things. And so I remember I would get done with class, and then I would head over to the church, and we would practice dancing in the basement of the church, the different moves, so that he could then learn them so he could do them with his now wife.
Oh, nice.
And I remember one time we were practicing the waltz, and we were actually doing the waltz to Piano Man, because that has that 3-step or whatever it is. And the church administrator, who we were good friends with as well, came downstairs to us just waltzing to the Piano Man, and she was like, "You guys are ridiculous." So again, I thought the scene was ridiculous, but now that I have life experience, I'm like,
makes sense.
There's good reason to do this.
There is, and I think it's so hard to it's not hard that I didn't say that right. This is an old film to you for sure. I mean, I remember I was a kid when this
Beyond
came
my
out.
years.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I was trying to remember, and I just can't, but what it was like for the people in 1984 when this came out, and how really, and I do remember a few little things like how, you know, some people they were like, you know, this kind of stuff is bad and evil, even like the minister and all that.
Right.
I'm like, I saw that. I was like, that's so weird to me, right?
Yeah.
We should have open conversations about, okay, here's where the line is drawn where, that's bad.
Right.
Like, that's bad.
Yeah.
This is not. Right.
Yeah.
And Footloose certainly is not.
Right.
At all.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean,
maybe the chicken that they played chicken, that might have been bad.
Well, between that, the chicken, and who was it? Was it Ariel's character that was going from the car to the truck?
Oh, yeah. Yes, for sure.
I mean, that's how it starts. And I'm like, where is this film going?
Yeah, totally. But that's, the point is the WAP.
Yes.
Is not good.
Right.
It's not, it's very degrading.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yes.
To a human being.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And for that to be culturally accepted the way it is very like, whoa, to me. Again, my opinion.
Yeah,
I have a right to it. You
it's
have a right
hard.
to yours.
The arts are hard for when it comes to personal expression. And what are the lines of, like, this needs to be seen by everyone? Like, what are you expressing at that point? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, and so I'm not trying to digress.
Right.
I'm trying to just relate. Like, okay, there is a difference between degrading a person and their, and not, right? And this does not do that as like a person, as humans.
Exactly.
And so I don't understand why it had so much pushback.
Right.
From that
standpoint. The only other thing I understand was that there was an incident that had happened wasn't Ariel's brother that had died?
For sure.
And
yeah.
so
I don't mean in the film. Okay. I mean in remembering in back in real life how people would talk. I can't believe this movie.
Well, I remember too. Like, again, this is more before my time, but I remember hearing conversations of like, if you listen to the song backwards, it's demonic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, what how many straws are you pulling at right now to get to where you're going?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yeah.
But so I gave, if we're going again, we've been kind of all over.
We have been, and that's part of it's a podcast. It's a conversation. Right. It's all over.
That's right. This is how my mind works. It's
I would be
scattered.
bored. Yeah, mine too. You might be bored watching or listening, but I'm not. I'm having fun.
As long as you can follow the train of thought that really is going nowhere. I really liked, again, Ren Miller's character, which was a pretty big one. Ariel and Ren's relationship I think it worked, but I wasn't super fascinated by that relationship. Reverend Shaw, I do like, we talked about John Lithgow. I liked him as a dad and dad preacher character. I think he fits those roles pretty well. Again, I remember from How I Met Your Mother, who was Barney's dad, and
he looks that part too.
He does, and
not only does he act it well, he looks it.
His voice, his demeanor, just everything, just kind of commands that type of that role, and he does it well. So I gave it a 3.9. Again, I really liked Ren Willard. It's something that I could just personally relate to out of a friendship of just one being there for each other, but also kind of doing more ridiculous things and stuff like that.
I'm not far off. I'm a 3.8.
Okay.
And I think you hit all the main points that I probably would have too.
Yeah.
So I like, it's fun because the one we just did, West Side Story, we're very different on it. And it's fun to have those different conversations and things. And then it's fun to have the conversations like, well, yeah, we're like right close with it. So it's really fun. And I felt the realness of to me, it felt real, I should say. And I think that because I felt like it was real, they probably felt it too.
Right.
And that's a really important piece for me personally, is if it feels real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when it's supposed to be a real film.
Yeah, it's nothing.
It's a real setting or whatever. It's not like, Star Trek or Star Wars or, where we clearly know it's not real.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was good.
So let's do locations then.
Locations. I think it was based in Oklahoma, wasn't it? I don't know where the town was. It was a small town. Or was it Kansas?
No, it wasn't Oklahoma. That's the real one. They
moved.
Yeah, they moved from Chicago.
To a small town.
They had to go over the border into Illinois. So Indiana? Missouri?
I don't know either. It seemed like a small town. The place didn't really matter. They talk about other states, and they talk about how, again, kind of like you were talking about, how this wasn't something that was just true in this specific town, but they talked about other towns that had also banned dancing or had, pretty religious control had an effect on what was going on socially. So I enjoyed that. I gave it a 4.2. There was nothing spectacular about the locations. The church walls, I kind of enjoyed that they were a little bit more bare. Because I remember when Reverend Shaw was preaching. You would see that on the walls, and I can't remember if there were stained glass. There was windows. It was pretty bare, and I liked that.
Yeah.
It had the I'll say old time feel within the houses, where they had like a lot of wooden paneling and stuff like that as well, which I thought was pretty authentic to the town, or to the times, and specifically smaller towns.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm looking at, I just pulled up online here, and I can't see what state it was.
Yeah. I remember them mentioning states within it, but I can't remember. They must have been close to a border.
Yeah, they were close to a border. Yeah, I don't see anything here. Like it was shot in Utah, quite a bit of it.
Which makes sense. There's a lot of desert.
Like it
or
says,
plain.
yeah, Payson High School was with the high school scenes in must be Utah. I'm just briefly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't see exactly what's.
I think it was somewhere in the lower Midwest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
didn't think it was Oklahoma though.
It might have not been Oklahoma. Minor details.
Yeah. I keep forgetting to get you logged into the internet too, so you can some of this on the spot like I do. But you have to remind me when we're done here. Locations for me felt authentic. I gave it a 4.0.
Okay.
I think the high school felt real. Like you say, the church felt real.
Yeah.
I grew up in a church not dissimilar to that. It wasn't obviously the same exactly, but it wasn't super dissimilar.
Yeah.
Or it was super similar, but I don't know. I'm confused now. Jeez. No. It had the same kind of feel, while some of the windows weren't the same. Some of those things, but it had the same feel as far as size that they portrayed, and some of that was. So it felt authentic to me on these locations. And so I think that's when you're doing a film that's supposed to be like real life, let's make it feel real.
Yeah,
so I like that a lot. How did it look on the screen?
I liked it. I mean, again, I liked how the beginning, it's called Footloose. The beginning, what do you see a bunch of? Feet getting loose.
I know.
Just dancing.
That was cool. Yeah.
So I thought that was a great way to start it. And then the warehouse scene where Kevin Bacon, that's the famous dancing, where he now pays DJs not to play music, so he doesn't have to. He had a lot of stunt doubles. I think he had 4.
Really?
For the dance scenes, which he wasn't the happiest about, because I think I agree with, if you're the actor, you want to do as much as you can, because you're the one that's getting most of the credit for what's being done.
Right.
For better or for worse. And so I think he had like 3 or 4 different stunt doubles and stuff that were helping out, because some of those dances were pretty advanced. And, I'm not sure if he was a gymnast back then. You got the gymnast scenes and everything else like that, which was kind of funky.
That was weird. Like, that is one thing that didn't seem real.
No,
to me,
it didn't match his character.
No,
and I think that's what brought down. We'll get to costume design.
Yeah, right.
But that's something I had an issue there. But I thought the scenes were well shot. Again, I thought there was going to be more dancing. Just because, and again, I thought there was going to be more music, so I wish so that kind of threw me off of what was going on.
Kind of like how I was thrown off with the West Side Story.
That's right. Yeah. So, but I thought everything was shot pretty well. Again, there were some ridiculous scenes I can relate to, like we had talked about Ariel transferring cars. I was like, what's going on here? It was shot well, but it still didn't
was
make
shot very well.
Sense to what's going on. So I gave it a 4.0 on the cinematography.
I was at a 3.9. One of the big things that brought it down for me is there's a lot of scenes that it came across on film as very bright, too bright.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that at all.
Like
some of
bright.
the outdoor stuff was like, they have filters for that even back then.
Right.
And so it's hard to kind of, I don't know, it's shocking to me a little bit and to my eyes. And so that's why it brought some of that down. Is I just think they should have made some of those scenes a little bit more tolerable, in my opinion. Again, that's just what it is. But so yeah, for a 1984 film for $8.2 million.
Yeah.
When you're talking about some of the others like Ghostbusters we did and Dune, when they were like 35, 40 million budget.
Yeah.
I thought they did fantastic.
Yeah. My guess is they didn't spend a lot of time in post.
No.
Which is where you probably would have adjusted some things like lighting. And,
Yeah.
I mean, you do have filters that you could adjust while you're filming, but at the same point, they're like, we know what scenes we want to shoot, so let's just shoot them, and we know. Hopefully the story is going to drive it.
Yeah.
So, the costume design. I am a sucker for overalls. I like overalls. My wife does not like me wearing overalls. But again, going back to I used to drive.
Why didn't you wear overalls for the podcast then today?
Well, I think my wife hid them from me. I have a pair, but I'm not quite sure where they are.
Maybe we should hit the pause button. I'll go get you mine. No, I don't have any. I have Carhartts.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
but yeah. So I used to drive combine. So I loved feeling like a farm boy, but I'm really like the farthest thing away from a farm boy. So when Willard was wearing overalls, I really enjoyed that. It felt like the small town feel of that, especially back in the 80s. There was nothing spectacular with a lot of the costume choices. It felt very standard. The one issue I had is I thought Ren could have had more standout clothes. Because he had a leather jacket. That's the only thing I really remember being incredibly different. The other fun, they made his pants extra tight for this film, which I like, because I was looking at some of the interviews between him and Kevin Bacon, and they're like, there's tight pants that people can just wear, and he was like, they made these things extra tight, which I don't know if fully that means like if they had to get like a box cutter to cut them off, because I don't know how they got them on and off, but apparently they were incredibly tight.
Yeah,
which I know made a fad afterwards. But his character, again, was the only one that had a major... because he was from Chicago, he was supposed to be a more rebellious character. I thought his clothing designs could have represented that a little bit better than what they did.
I'm 100% agreement on that. 3.7 on costume design for that reason. I thought everything else fit really, really well throughout the whole film. In like, it made a lot of sense.
Yep. But
then you get to this, radical, footloose guy from Chicago, the big city.
You mean you dance in public?
Right. And it's like, he should be super trendy.
Yeah.
I mean, all that kind of stuff. So 3.7.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Talk about the music again?
Let's do it.
I gave it a 4.5.
Okay.
All the songs you can pretty well listen to outside the movie, which I think is something that should, for a movie like this, should be taken into consideration, because it wasn't a classical score where you had music going on in the backgrounds. It was all based off of pop songs that got placed throughout different scenes in the movie. So they fit well in the movie. Like I said, Footloose, you got a lot of different ones in it that fit for the sections that they were in, and they were enjoyable outside. So I think that's a good pairing for, again, I think especially back in the day, score wasn't, they weren't always focused on let's have music on the backgrounds, especially with an $8 million budget where they're working on so many different things, getting rights to some of these songs and stuff like that. So I gave it a 4.5. I mean, all the songs had a huge impact on the society of the day.
Yeah, totally. I gave it a 4.2. I guess I don't remember why. It probably should be a little higher, because it is, culturally it was so important, and some of those songs, they still are very playable today.
Yeah.
I think that's huge, but that's where I ended up. That's just, where I felt like it needed to be, I guess.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
That is what
I
it
don't
is.
have a lot of good explanation, but that's where I felt like,
it
wasn't.
How I feel.
Yeah, it was. I didn't have a lot of real complaints, I guess, but yeah. So entertainment value to you as a person, like of your young, mature age in comparison to my old, mature age. I'm not sure if I'm mature, but
I'm not sure if I'm young.
So when you're coming into this film and you purchased it,
Yeah,
big $5 purchase,
huge.
and
Could have bought it. Actually, I probably don't even have $5 subs anymore. I was gonna say could have got a $5 foot.
I don't think they do.
I don't think they exist anymore.
No. And I mean, a year ago or something, it probably would have been like $250 with inflation now.
Yeah, it's
but
hand.
so $5 spend. How did that like overall entertainment for you? Would you own it now? Is it something you're going to watch again at some point, you think, or that's a pulse for me? Is like, will I watch it again?
Yeah, I think I'll watch it again. I don't think it's going to be one. I think I'll have to be in a mood. Like sometimes you just get a mood to watch a certain film, and this one definitely has its uniqueness of like, I really just kind of feel like watching this right now, especially since it does have a lot of good songs that you can just put on the background. The storyline's there, but it isn't super complicated where you have to like pay attention to the whole thing to understand what's going on.
Right.
So I think it's definitely one that's nice to have on the background. So I gave it a 3.9. Again, another thing, and I don't know if this is where I should be putting the overall entertainment or where this gets put. But I mean, the plot line is definitely ridiculous. It feels ridiculous, but obviously we talked about, it did happen to a certain extent in different places within the U.S. But as ridiculous as it is, it does bring up the importance of having open and honest conversations and thinking about why we believe what we believe. And on top of that, being able to support what you believe with different ethos and logos and things like that to different people. Because, I mean, the only reason he brought out those passages was because Reverend Shaw was a pastor. Otherwise, I don't think he would have ever thought about pulling those up, whether that's good argument or bad argument. He's at least trying to understand, or at least he's looking at different sources to prove his point. And so I think and then the town hall, at least having conversations about it. I mean, they definitely weren't willing at the beginning to have those conversations, and then they ended up burning books and stuff like that. But I think it does bring up the importance of, again, I don't know if this goes in entertainment or where this would get put when it comes to rating, but just the idea of that we have to be understanding of other people's beliefs and understanding their side, but also understanding your side to be able to at least be civil.
Totally. Are we getting into philosophy a little bit here on this one? No, I don't know. I don't say that as a negative.
No, and that was the thing that surprised me about Footloose was that, again, I mean, what you had talked about previously was it low ratings because they institutionalized or what?
Right.
But it was definitely something that gave me a thought at the end of it of like, it's ridiculous, but, they have their reasonings and it existed for a reason. And so how does that apply to nowadays where I need to apply myself? So again, that's not necessarily overall entertainment of like, man, I love it because it's deep and philosophical. It's not necessarily that, but it definitely made me think about things.
The thing for me was that I said earlier, it's kind of relatable in the sense that I saw a lot of this, and I don't know. I think back in the 80s we should have been more. Okay, let me put it like this. What I've learned is there's a difference between accepting and tolerating.
Yep.
And I think I've said that maybe to you before.
Right.
I don't think on a podcast, but so that difference is so important in the sense of, okay, you can, even if your religious beliefs don't believe in the dancing or whatever that may be,
right,
you can accept that in another person,
right,
and not tolerate an evil behavior if it becomes that in your area, right, in your circle of influence or whatever. And I think that this film to me kind of represents that.
Yeah.
Is like, hey, just accept us. We're not really hurting anybody.
Exactly.
And if you don't accept this, it becomes something that other bad things will happen because you're pushing them away, right? And things like that. So I really enjoyed that in this film. I thought it spoke a lot to that to me. So overall entertainment too with it, with the philosophy that was in it, the entertaining, the dancing was great. So it's a 3.8 for me.
Cool. Which gets us to the overall score.
What's yours?
I gave it 3.9.
Mine at the overall is a 3.7.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's definitely one that still has influence today, and so I think it's a good film to watch and just enjoy the good music that's in it, but also be willing to like understand some more of the social implications that the movie, whether it's intentional or not, that the movie provides.
Yeah. I think it's pretty intentional, don't you?
Yeah. I would say so.
I'm not sure what, like, if they were going into it with a specific agenda, I don't know, I guess. But I'm sure there was somewhat. Like, a lot of times when they write these stories, people...
They think about it.
They think about those. So, no, it was great. I think it's fantastic that it holds up like it does, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like 1984.
Yeah.
No question.
Oh, absolutely.
But it wasn't
That's not
like,
a bad thing.
No, it wasn't like, I can't watch this. This is from 1984.
It's not like Ghostbusters where the CGI is like, I don't know what's going on here.
Totally. Yeah, that was, I guess, I hadn't seen it in a really, really, really long time.
Yeah.
I had to watch it in a couple of parts because when I started watching it, I was pretty wiped out.
Yeah.
I worked 60 plus hours every week at minimum, and I was tired.
Yeah.
So I did fall asleep. Yeah. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
But I came back and watched, and it's just, it's something I'll probably not wait that long to watch again because it's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when we get the remodel done, big screen.
That's right.
That'll be fun.
Then we could dance on the floor like they do.
A lot of room
Get
to
the
dance.
choreography down.
No, you might.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Let's do it. Wrapping us up again.
Well, now I have the song. Just dance the night away. Do, do, do.
Okay, so I'll see you later, huh? I'll give you a call.
So it's done.
It's done.